Welcome back, everyone.
Yes, welcome back everyone to AIM Sports Betting.
The Saturday drop for Sunday night and Monday night football.
Yes, I hear myself owner with my brother here, Irshad,
Yo.
ready to get in some NFL news, some picks, some topics. Let's just start getting into it.
All right. So first off, we got to talk about Thursday night football.
Yes.
All right. So like we mentioned here at AIM Sports, our Thursday night football is separate than our Sunday night football records because sometimes teams have short weeks, injuries, and such. So going into Thursday night football, Ulner's record was 1-1. Mine was 0-2. The game matchup rather was the New England Patriots visiting New York, the New York Jets. The line was -6, and this was the first divisional matchup.
Yeah.
And Ulner, successfully, you called -6 for the Jets. I called the +6, and as we saw, the Jets leveled the Patriots.
They came to play. First home game for Aaron Rodgers too, against a big crowd. Jets don't know what winning's about.
Yeah.
And they finally got to experience it. Finally beating their kryptonite, the Patriots, who had Brady for a long time, going against them, carving them up. But this one's a little different, got a little smile on their faces. Jets came out, showed their offensive firepower. -6, division game, came out and they took it.
Yeah. I mean, Breece Hall was playing solid.
Yeah.
And Garrett Wilson, more to come on that. But you know who I was really happy for?
Who?
Robert Saleh.
Right, yeah, Robert Saleh. Yeah.
This guy always looks so sad when he loses. I was actually, I know I lost the Thursday night football, record, but I was just happy to see this guy win.
No, for
you
sure.
know what I mean? Totally different. But with that, definitely good football. But Thursday night football has its ups and downs and its uncertainties. But with that, our new records stand. So Ulner is now 2-1 on Thursday night football. Yeah. I'm 0-3, still searching for my first win on Thursday night football. Which maybe, could be next week. I don't know.
Yes, stay tuned for that.
Stay tuned. But like every Thursday night football, we'd like to have a daily fantasy lineup that we create. So with that, it is different than our actual week 3 or week 4, week 5 fantasy lineup. This is just for that particular game. So in these positions, we have 1 QB, 1 running back, 1 wide receiver, 1 tight end, 1 defense, and 1 kicker. Yeah. So if you guys were there with us on Wednesday night for the drop of this podcast, you probably heard us as to the whys we picked it of these players. But now let's talk about how well they did. So Ulner, level with us. Who's our QB? How'd they do?
QB, Mr. Aaron Rodgers, speaks for himself.
Yeah.
Came out, threw the ball, carved the ball, found his teammates, made everybody look like a superstar. He made himself look like God. Went out and produced 21.04% points. Huge bounce back game. First home game from injury. Good season, and he had his best man behind him who was covering him.
Yeah.
Which goes to the running back we chose in,
which was Breece Hall.
Yeah.
I mean, Breece Hall. Honestly, personal bias. I picked him up in my first round. Yeah. In my personal fantasy draft. Yeah. 18.3 points.
Beautiful.
Mr. Consistency.
Yeah.
Easy.
Has a lot more touchdowns. He's running well this year with Aaron Rodgers.
Yep.
Which leads us to Aaron Rodgers' favorite target.
Yep.
Who was our wide receiver we also took too, and Wilson. And Wilson went on and produced 14.3 points. Finally got his first touchdown of the season. Got the first touchdown of the season at home too, as well too, after being Aaron Rodgers' favorite third down target.
Yep.
So that was huge as well too. And then we went and got a little bust because we had went our tight end and we took Hunter Henry over Conklin, but Hunter Henry should have produced.
Should have.
They couldn't find, the passing game wasn't working. They were running, it wasn't working for them. And saying that why it didn't work was because the Jets defense, who we also had on our defense, lit it up. Went up for 16 points. Had a forced fumble towards the end. Had so many sacks. New England didn't know what was coming at them.
No.
And then we had our kicker, who was the only points in the game for this team.
Yeah. I mean, it was from a 44.
Hey, at least he wasn't a chip shot.
It wasn't a chip shot. He earned it.
They earned it.
He did his part on the team, right?
This is for fantasy purposes. He did his part as an individual, performer.
It.
Team itself, different story. But yeah, he gave us 4 points. So collectively, all together.
Oh, and then we picked the Jets defense.
Yes, we had the Jets defense. Yes, we had 16 points.
So it was definitely a team effort across the entire board. Offense was on fire. Defense was holding it down. But yeah, coming back to what Ulner was saying, collectively, this lineup, in spite of the low from Hunter Henry and mediocre from Joey Sly, collected 76.5 points, which comes to roughly about 12.8 points per position, which is pretty solid considering that this game was well under the 38.5.
Oh, well
under.
Yeah.
So the fact that Rogers was in there, Brees Hall was in there, Wilson was in there, and your boys here at AIM Sports picked all three of them. Hopefully, we made you, secure the bag at least a little bit.
For sure.
And
even helps you with your daily, weekly fantasy too. If any players are trying to decide who you started, hopefully those three came in and gave you a good lead, and hopefully you get the W on Sunday, maybe Monday as well too.
Exactly. And I mean, on that point, from our fantasy and on a more personal angle, we hope you guys secured the bag with our anytime TD scorer, which on our sportsbook was 2.6 times your unit. And it hit. It was anytime Garrett Wilson, his first touchdown of the season.
Yeah, beautiful.
My goodness.
Yeah, they were running the ball. They did their thing. And I'm so happy for Garrett Wilson.
I know.
He finally got one. He's finally, gelling in, fitting into the offense. Aaron Rodgers is going to be his favorite target. For sure. He's going to keep going at him. And this is the first of many.
And he was the wide receiver one coming into it.
Yep,
he was. I mean, it makes sense because he was pretty quiet the first 2 weeks, nothing. And I think this way it actually puts him into that offense, saying that he is wide receiver number one, the first position in the offense.
Yeah,
so
correct.
That's important.
So, Garrett Wilson, touchdown. Thank you, brother, for doing that for us at Sports and for everybody else that tailed us.
Hopefully you guys secure the bag.
Yes, but now that's Thursday. Thursday's behind us. We're moving forward. We got Sunday football.
And Sunday is Sunday Fun Day football day.
Yeah, especially after last week football, all the upsets that happened.
Yep.
But let's see, it might happen again. Might not. It's every week is different. Last week was really interesting.
Yep.
But this week we have a lot of exciting games ahead of us, and we have 3 games of the week that we've selected.
Yes.
And we feel these 3 games are elite games.
They are.
All 3 games are popcorn worthy.
Oh, for sure. Like, irrespective of whether you guys are Team Red Zone on Sunday Night Football or not, these games are these are ones that you're probably going to leave on for the entire duration of the game.
You cannot miss.
Like, you can't miss these games. You simply can't.
Yeah. You might have sit in the toilet and watch the game at that point.
Like, actually, like, you guys probably put like Red Zone on a phone or on a TV. But you guys are cued in and locked into these matches. So, without further ado, the first match of our game of the week is, and we talked about these games obviously last week. Well, let's formalize them in our games of weeks. Is the very interesting matchup between the Philadelphia Eagles against the New Orleans Saints.
Ooh, the New Orleans Saints.
Now, we'll get into the analysis. Vegas currently has the lines at New Orleans minus 2.5. But I like to throw in something is that there's actually been a 5-point swing.
Yeah.
Vegas actually opened the lines up at Philadelphia minus 2.5. But it appears that the general public thinks New Orleans is going to win so much that they've actually swung Vegas to the other side, and now New Orleans is a big time favorite at minus 2.5. So we'll stick to the current Vegas lines at New Orleans minus 2.5. Ulner, my brother, let me throw it to you first. What is your thought and why?
This is a surprising game. We got 2 Super Bowl caliber teams here coming in. We got the hot New Orleans Saints. Who that Saints? They're representing. They're making a name for themselves this season. Derek Carr's looking elite. He's a superstar. This game is going to be an amazing game. It's going to be a lot of fun. I just don't know if the firepower is still in both of them. I feel like there's been some film for the past 2 weeks where they've got to see each other on film, figure out what they're going to do. And we have a special stat here that says the referee for this game, Scott Novak, home teams against the spread in his career are 46 and 68. 40%, 40.35% to be exact. So we're saying here that New Orleans, according to stats, is going to win 40% of the time. Now, my brother mentioned earlier that the line swing by 5 points, meaning are they getting more bets towards them? Yes. Clearly, it shows that they are getting more bets.
I'm sure it comes at the heels of Kamara.
Yes, right? Of course. But also knowing that Brown may have played, but he's out as well too, right?
Oh, so true.
So again, that's another wide receiver down for Philly.
An elite wide receiver.
Wide receiver down for Philly. So now another person has to step up. This game, for me, I feel it's a look-ahead game. I think New Orleans goes and plays a division game against Atlanta next week. I feel they've been so hot that this Philadelphia Eagles team will come and cool them down.
Yeah.
They may or may not win the game, but you already have a team that's won the Super Bowl. Yes, the New Orleans Saints have won it, but you have Jalen Hurts who's won a Super Bowl. Right? He's going to come in. That team is hungry, and they show up for big games. And I feel they're going to come and stop New Orleans. I'm taking Philadelphia plus 2.5. And to also mention, too, being favored by a week before the line came out, and now being underdogs, you would feel money's been going all the way to New Orleans, that I don't see Vegas giving all the money away for free.
Yeah, that's true.
And at the end of the day, plus 2.5 is there. It was almost at 2. I like the plus 2.5. I don't see a lot of people going towards that trend. And if anything, game might end by within 1 point. But Philadelphia plus 2.5. That's my pick.
Damn.
I'm sorry to do this to you, my brother. I know this is your team,
It's
but
my squad, man.
I know.
And look, man, I'm gonna come at it from the perspective of I'm looking outside of my personal bias, right? I look at the New Orleans Saints for a couple of reasons. I mean, obviously you mentioned Scott Novak, so that definitely is an interesting play. But if to keep in mind is this is a very unusual setup because technically the Saints were the dogs coming into this game. Like Vegas actually stated them as dogs. Now, whether you ask me when they were dogs or whether they're favorites, I'm still taking New Orleans minus 2.5 for a variety of reasons here, folks. So, first of all, we have obviously statistics here. We can't discount Kamara's hot hand right now.
For sure.
Do I think he's going to drop 4 TDs tomorrow? No. I don't think he's dropping another 4 TDs. Do I think he's going to pick up a TD? Yes. But it's going to be also on the backs of Derek Carr, Chris Olave, everyone's coming into their own.
Yeah.
Now, yes, Taysom Hill, Mr. Versatile himself, is questionable for the game. But what I'll put on is, granted we're only 2 weeks in, small sample size. New Orleans is coming out shining. They're coming out fighting. Their yardage across the board is high from both rushing, where they're 3rd in the league, and passing, where they're 11th in the league. Collectively, they're 4th in the entire league when it comes to offense. I'm not going to discount the Eagles because they're 6, so they're right there with them. But where the differentiating factor, in my opinion, comes in is now from the defensive side. So Saints are 8th in the league when it comes to the defense.
Yeah.
They're 2nd in the league when it comes to rushing.
Yes.
So I can imagine Saquon having a bit of a harder time making his way down the field, though not discounting his power. I'm sure he's going to still pull out, but it's going to be one of those moments where it's not going to be as easy as he thought it was going to be, right? I think that's what it's going to be. Now, like I said, this is an unusual game here, folks, because the spreads change so significantly. Hurts, in his career, is 28, 28, and 2 against the spread. Okay, but in his last 9 starts, he's 1-8. 1-8 against the spread. And the Eagles have lost 4 straight road games against the spread since last season. Okay, their longest streak has been 6 losses. But, like I said, it's super unusual because it's now minus 2.5.
Yeah.
Right? But I would have taken New Orleans irrespective. Now, we even talked about this game last week when the Saints played the Cowboys. That when the Saints are dogs, okay, Carr particularly is 54, 46, and 1 as a dog. He was a dog when this game first came out. It's only now that he's a favorite. So in my mind, technically, everybody still slated them as underdogs. Even if you flip the script a little bit, he's 22, 37, and 2 against the spread as a favorite. But that doesn't change the sheer fact that they actually started off as underdogs. It's actually, in my opinion, it actually makes sense that they're coming in with the underdog mentality, and they're just showing up and showing out, and I think it's going to continue. And I think the entire team, ground up, is going to play so well that it's going to offset the officiating by Scott Novak. And it will take an extra level of discipline, to be honest.
Sure.
It'll take
100%.
an extra level of discipline so that, we talked about it earlier, Ulner, is that, if they're 3-2 and you get a false start, you get a holding, you get a, illegal hands to the face, and you're set back 5-10 yards, The only way to offset that flag is you just Derek Carr to throw the bomb for 15, 20 yards. That's essentially what it is. Kamara's got to run 15, 20 yards, right? And I think we're going to see that, especially what we're seeing in the first 2 weeks. So, all in all, my brother, I know you got plus 2.5 for Philly. I'm rolling with New Orleans at minus 2.5.
Yeah, I think the Saints need to get humbled, and Philly's the team that will humble them. I think they've come up the gun so hot right now, but it's just, that's a big battle between you and me. So Sunday is going to be fun.
Always got to have one in a week,
Always
right?
got to have one. One game needs to have caramel popcorn.
That's it. That's it. And I mean, speaking of game number 1, let's get into game number 2. So, game number 2 here is another key matchup, which will actually be another, is it afternoon game? Late game?
Afternoon. It's a 4 p.m. game Eastern time, correct? Yep.
Perfect. Which is the Baltimore visiting Dallas.
Ooh.
And right now, it is Baltimore favored at -1.
Yeah.
So, all in all, I'm going to throw it to you, my man. What's your take on it?
This is a fun game. You have America's team versus Lamar Jackson. Let's just put it straight out there. So Lamar Jackson versus America's team. Lamar Jackson cannot go 0-3. Dallas has won a game, but I do not see Baltimore going down 0-3. I will tell you my pick from now, stating that Baltimore -1 money line. Take them. They're here to win. And going back to what me and my brother have found, we have a officiate a referee here in Ron Torbert, who doesn't like home teams a lot for some reason. For some reasons, like home teams. Since 2016?
Yeah.
The home underdog team. Now, yes, -1 may not be called an underdog. Or sorry, +1 may not be an underdog. But still, underdog is underdog. It's a plus is a plus. He goes 15-29 against the spread since 2016 when officiating.
Last 8 years.
In the last 8 years when he officiates, a home underdog has only covered the spread 15 times and lost 29 times. So, and in that too, he loves Dak. He loves America's team.
Yeah.
Right? You should tell him about Dak's team. Like, what do they do? Like,
yo, man, Ron's an interesting individual. So Cowboys are 3-5.
Yeah.
When he officiates their games in the Dak era.
Yes.
Okay, in the Dak era. That's important to know. But of the 8 games, 5 were at home in Dallas.
Okay.
And those 5 games had a record of 1-4.
Wow.
In money line and against the spread. So we literally, for tomorrow's game, we fit in this exact same parameter.
Yes, we do.
This is going to be game number 9 in the Dak era that Ron Torbert is officiating.
Yep. And
number 6 will be at home. So will the record be 1-5?
I think so.
2-4? And from what we're seeing right now, I think we all think it's gonna be a 1-5 situation.
Yeah. And even after what happened with them last week, Dallas, right? They had the game. New Orleans came in.
Oh yeah, you're right.
New Orleans played in Dallas.
New Orleans were dogs,
right?
In Dallas, in Arlington. Yeah.
Yeah, they went in and they showed out. They said, "Hey, this is our house." And on top of it too, was it Lamar Jackson? I believe as a favorite is 22-7.
Yeah,
as a favorite, and or less or an underdog. But even then, 22-7 as a favorite.
Yeah.
So that line is
of ridiculous. 3 points or less.
Or 3 points or less. So imagine they're favored -1. Yeah. All this we're finding here states Baltimore should come out and win this game.
Yeah.
Will it happen? They should. I do not see Baltimore going down 0-3.
No.
For their division, they don't. Plus, you have to take into factor that Dallas has a short week.
Yes.
Looking ahead.
In a divisional matchup.
On a Thursday.
Oh, jeez.
So you only have, 4 days to rest?
So America's team versus arguably the biggest team market in football.
And they have to travel as well, too, to New Jersey.
Yeah.
So you're going to go from somewhere hot and warm, and you're going to go somewhere cold, too.
Yep.
Within a short period of time.
Yep.
All this states to Baltimore -1. I just feel Dak Prescott's going to have his interception games like he usually does. Yeah. Just throw it up. Won't find, I think Baltimore, rusts off, shakes off the last 2 games they played. And it's not like they've played mediocre teams. They've played caliber teams that are good, like especially with a good O line. And like, yes, they lost to the Raiders, which is a massive upset. Lost a lot of survivor streaks.
Sure.
But it was also the play calling from Lamar. Lamar was still hesitant to get rid of the football. He wasn't. Yeah. He saw his wide receivers open. He had the chance to run, but there's still something about him that he hasn't clicked with them.
Yeah.
And what better way to click, or what better team to face to click than America's team?
I agree. And I mean, honestly, on that note, like, Lamar is going to make that bounce back, and I feel, right? Like, you can't have the number 1 seed go 0-3
exactly
in 2024. And what's interesting is, we know Lamar is 4-0 against the spread after a straight up loss, right? But they lost against the Raiders, which makes them 0-1 against the spread in 2024. But in his career, though, it's important to note, right? Because Lamar is finally getting into his rhythm. In his career, Lamar is 9-11 against the spread after straight up loss. But the good news is of that 9-11, he's 5-2 against the spread on the road. So there is actually a higher, almost 2.5 chance higher.
Yes.
That they cover and against the spread while they're on the road. And this is, once again, fitting into the parameters of both Lamar Jackson and Baltimore's success on the road, and also coinciding with Dak Prescott's, the Cowboys at home, and the official by Ron Torbert. And I think those combinations together, in my opinion, and I'm sure our opinion, fits Baltimore -1 to be the best bet at this point.
Yeah, like it just straight up says how it is.
Yeah.
We like it. Short week. Cowboys have Baltimore -1.
Yeah.
Give me Lamar Jackson.
Exactly. And here's a fun little fact, because the GOAT himself is in the booth.
Yes.
Nowadays, right? He'll be calling this game for tomorrow. And he's called, obviously, Cowboys-Browns and Saints and Cowboys. Road teams are 2-0 straight up against the spread, and underdogs are 2-0 against the spread, and overs are 2-0.
Interesting fact.
With Brady calling the game. So when the GOAT is in the house, he brings that GOAT mentality, that Mamba mentality.
He does, for sure.
To the dogs.
He does.
And I mean, it helps. The games he's called so far this season, the road teams who happen to be the underdogs are 2-0.
Yeah.
And in this case, yes, Baltimore isn't a underdog, but they are the road team.
Yeah, there you go.
I think Brady's gonna bestow that GOAT ambiance into the crowd and into the field. And just, I think it's gonna give them the streak that they need to keep going.
So Baltimore -1, lock it in.
That's it.
Me and my brother both are on the same page on that one, which leads us to our final game of the week, where we're all gonna have to wait till Monday.
Yeah,
we got a good game Monday, 7:30 start. We got a doubleheader on Monday for all the NFL fans. We get 2 games on Monday, which is exciting. We got the Jacksonville Jaguars versus the Buffalo Bills.
Man. And
the line has come out with Buffalo -5.
Yeah.
Buffalo -5 at home against an 0-2 Jacksonville team.
Yes.
This game is going to be fun. I'm going to pass out to my brother. He'll give you some of his stats and who he likes on this game.
Oh, man. This is an interesting game. Obviously, Monday night.
Yes.
So it's going to be, a lot of focus there. I think the other game is Cincy and Washington.
Yeah.
Maybe
you can go to sleep by
that. I mean, at that point, it's just a bit of a game.
Yeah.
You're there to kind of count down the timer for the week. But the Jackson Buffalo game is going to be a super, super intense game, super close game, right? And let's start off with the officiating for this game. So the officiating is by Sean Smith. Home records against the spread are 37 and 54 whenever he's officiated. Now, in 2023, so last season, home teams were 3-13 straight up. I want to say that again.
They're what? Repeat yourself?
Last year, when Sean Smith officiated games, home teams were 3-13 straight up.
3-13? He don't like the home teams.
He doesn't like home teams.
Yeah.
Okay? He's officiated 16 weeks 16 games in 2023. Okay? Only
Wow.
3 times under his officiating
Wow.
have the home teams won. Okay? Away teams have won 13 times.
Yeah.
To further that point, of those 16 games, home teams were 4-11-1 against the spread. Home teams were 4-11-1 against the spread in 2023 whenever Mr. Sean Smith was officiating. And in this case, he is officiating in Buffalo, and we know how his record is, and it is interesting to see how this one's going to go. I think there's a lot when it comes to this particular matchup.
It is. There is. There's a lot to this matchup. Like
Yeah, this is a super interesting game because I truly think that with the line at -5 for Buffalo, I mean, it just makes sense that with the officiating, that the call is Jacksonville +5. And I know I may have said -5. I want to make sure you guys are all listening here at home that the line is -5 for Buffalo.
Yes.
But I'm calling Jacksonville +5. Right? Now, officiating is one part of the game here, right? There's obviously a couple of other issues here as well, right? I mean, yes, Trevor Lawrence has to have a bounce back game. Etienne is playing some tremendous football, right? I always say he's holding down Jacksonville.
He is, and he's been there for couple years now too, right? They're giving it to him. He's pounding the rock. He's going in there. You know, you got Lawrence as well too, who hasn't found his groove yet.
Yeah.
And I feel like he's gonna come out, and he's just gonna have a bang. And they've built such a good team around them too, right?
Yeah.
They also have Gabriel Davis.
Yes.
X Factor from Buffalo.
Oh, yeah.
The number 2 wide receiver from Buffalo coming back to Buffalo. So he has a revenge game on his mind as well too.
Yeah.
And Jacksonville needs the W for sure. And at the same time too, adding on Mr. Smith's trends, right? Mr. Smith is 39-54-3 against the spread. Home teams are in his career 39-54-3. Which also is a larger sample size, but still fits into the parameter that Mr. Smith does not like home teams.
Doesn't.
And I feel this will be like a nice Josh Allen interception, couple of holding penalties, flags. Trevor Lawrence comes out. They show out how to play, and they need to come out and play just like how they did against the Chargers in that playoff game. They were down. They came out and just pound the rock and got a W.
I agree.
Yeah, Jacksonville +5 looks like a lot of points.
Yeah.
Too many points, especially for a team that needs a win, especially in that division with Houston, Indy, and Tennessee. If they go down 0-3, it's a tough way to climb the division and go back and probably chase Houston if Houston does get the W.
Yeah.
So, division-wise, I feel Jacksonville should come out and get the W there.
I agree. And I mean, honestly, Josh Allen is just 8-14-1 against the spread, and 5-8-1 at home, right?
So
I mean, he's more inclined to lose than he is to win, right? And one of the things I want to kind of give credit is not only the officiating. I mean, Josh Allen, a hell of a quarterback, right? There's no discount about that. But when Trevor Lawrence is a dog, when he's put as an underdog in primetime games, he is lethal, okay? Forget the spread for a second. He's won outright twice and has lost just once, and that too by 3 points.
Wow, close game.
Close game. This is a hungry Lawrence, okay? A Trevor Lawrence of Jacksonville, who is going to be, in this case, as we know, with the Lions, a underdog and primetime Monday evening.
Yeah.
You know what? I think all of these factors puts it in a position where the underdog, Jacksonville, is better positioned to win, both from officiating, historically, as well as the players and playmaking and their upcoming schedule.
Oh yeah, for sure. The upcoming schedule, they need this W. Plus, again, we were saying looking ahead, Jacksonville is playing Houston next week.
Yes.
As a division game. You go down 0-3, and if Houston wins this week, go 3-0 to go play a divisional game. That division game, yes, it matters, but would it matter more if they're 1-2 and then Houston is 3-0? You win that game, you're only down by 1.
Yeah.
And you play each division opponent twice. So now you go and beat them again. You still have the upper hand by 1 game, then falling back for 2.
If Jacksonville loses on Monday, and to your point, they lose against their division rival Houston.
Yeah.
Not only is 0-4 hard to climb out of, or rather, was it 1-3?
Well, no,
right.
No, they're 0-2.
So they're 0-2, so it'd be 0-4.
0-4, yeah.
So not only would 0-4 generally be hard to climb out of, but now you're climbing out of a hole that is otherwise you lost to your divisional rivals.
Yes.
Like, you could win,
sure,
but now you're not actually making strides forward because you could also be winning against somebody else.
Exactly, right?
You didn't actually steal a game from them.
You just benefited them making the playoffs. Like, oh, here, we'll beat you guys, but, you can make the playoffs. We don't want to be there.
And exactly. And if you make two early mistakes if you make key mistakes this early in the season, this season's going to be over before they even start.
Yeah, just over. Like, it's done.
Yeah, that's what I mean. And Jacksonville, I think, in my opinion, is too good of a team to, unfortunately, experience something like this.
Of course.
Right.
And so we like Mr. Smith. He's going to do us some magic on Monday. And Jacksonville +5 it is.
Yep, from the both of us.
From the both of us.
And so, kind of closing out the game of the weeks, Ulner was coming into this week's game of the weeks at a record of 2-4. I'm still trying to come up and pass 500. I mean, both trying to fight above 500.
Correct.
I'm at 1-5, and we're hoping that these 3 calls here can otherwise help boost us up. Now, I know we're a little bit different with the Philadelphia and New Orleans game.
For sure.
But Baltimore, we're both calling -1.
Yes.
Buffalo in the Jacksonville game, we're calling Jacksonville +5 for both of us.
Yes.
And then the Philly and New Orleans game, Ulner's calling Philly +2.5. I'm calling New Orleans at -2.5. So that's it for the game of the weeks.
Yes.
Tune in. These 3 games, like we said, are key games.
Popcorn worthy.
Oh, 100%. Like red zone, as well as, having these games working in the background.
And what's beautiful about this, too, is they're all in different time slots.
Oh, perfect.
You got the first game, Philly at 1. As soon as that game finishes, you got Baltimore at 4. Sunday night game, you can rest up because you watch a lot of football already.
Yep.
Monday night, you got Buffalo, Jacksonville. So there we go.
That's it. It gives everybody an opportunity to watch a game
for sure
without having to constantly flip back and forth.
Exactly.
So, there you go.
Since everybody loves watching football on Sundays, when you're watching Red Zone, you see everybody start scoring.
Yep.
And when teams score and players score, who does that benefit? Fantasy owners. So leading into fantasy over here.
There we go.
At Aim Sports, we do fantasy every Sunday, and we pick our teams Sunday and Monday. Sometimes we have a pick that happens on Thursday, but we let everybody know when we record that podcast.
Yes.
And this week, we have our structure of 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, a defense, and a kicker. I'm going to start off by saying our quarterback, we feel this person over here is going to have a monster game. Just lost a running back in Pacheco, right, Irshad?
Yep.
He's gone. Like, you have another rookie running back.
Yeah.
You got another veteran running back there, but do you really trust them? They're not in the scheme. They're not a Pacheco running back.
Not yet.
And we feel Patrick Mahomes here is going to have a lights-out game against Atlanta.
Yeah.
Where Kirk Cousins is playing back-to-back prime games.
Yeah.
And we know that Kirk Cousins on prime time games, sometimes they hit or miss. And I feel this is the one that he's going to miss.
Yep.
And Kansas City's going to come. Patty Mahomes is going to come carve him out.
Oh, yeah.
Because like we said, what do we say, Rashad? Patty Mahomes only shows up
prime time.
Prime time.
Prime time.
He's coming out there to be I'm Mr. Prime Time.
He's Mr. Showtime. Like, he's there.
When the lights are on him,
that's it.
He puts on a show.
Yep.
So that's our quarterback number 1, which leads us to our 2 running backs, where Irshad's going to come out and...
Yeah. So, we have from the Cleveland Browns.
Yes.
Jerome Ford.
Yes.
Honestly, he's been playing a hell of a game, and it's something that we're definitely going to see kind of carry forth. We think Jerome Ford is going to have a solid rushing outing. The reality of it is his entire offensive scheme is ground and pound.
Yeah,
You know what
that's
I mean?
it.
He is a down dirty kind of running back. He's gonna muscle his way through,
He can also catch the football too.
and he
Low
can.
key.
I mean,
Yo,
he can.
those
He's
screens.
versatile, right? Like for the fact of someone who's that big,
Yeah.
like he can ground and pound and then kind of like screen out, do a quick check down.
And be like, haha, like you know, that was gonna run exactly.
And the fact that you have David Njoku out, I mean, you got to have someone who's a little bit bigger. And I think it's kind of worked out because Jerome Ford does have that versatility in him, right? So I think that would actually be beneficial for him to be part of that squad. So with them going against the New York Giants, Giants defense is 28th in the league when it comes to
They're
the
last
rush.
in everything almost. So
I mean, we think Jerome Ford is going to be coming out strong.
and at home to Cleveland, so he has the
At
whole,
home
whole
court.
crowd,
There
everyone
you go.
around him. So there we go, which leads us to our second running back, where we talked about it in our first game of the week.
Yeah.
We have Alvin Kamara, who is having a hot hand, who's showing off that he's still young, that young Kamara in him.
Yeah.
He's still able to play the game at a high level. He's able to score, be an X factor, make a difference. What was it, 5 touchdowns last week?
Jeez.
Right? Do we say he's going to repeat it again? It's highly likely. But against a Philadelphia Eagles team
Yeah.
who doesn't really stop the run as well, and they get poised on mixed different schemes on what Derek Carr is going to do.
Yeah.
And on top of it, if they focus on Derek Carr throwing the football, Kamara is going to be there to bail them out.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
we
yeah.
feel Kamara is going to find the end zone, produce a lot of points,
Exactly.
and he's
He's gonna double down his hot hand. Like he's killing it right,
right.
now.
He's out here. So
Yeah.
Kamara, Ford are 2 running backs for our fantasy, which leads us to our wide receivers.
Yep.
We got our first wide receiver from the Houston Texans. We got Nico Collins.
Mm-hmm.
Why Nico Collins? Because Stephon Diggs is coming back to Minnesota.
Yeah.
We feel they're going to double Stephon Diggs. They don't want Stephon Diggs to ruin the party. CJ Stroud's favorite target is Nico Collins,
Yeah.
who runs far and wide, and he'll go get any ball thrown to him, 60 yards, 70 yards. We have Stephon Diggs, who's a mediocre 10-yard catch and run. Nico Collins, high wide receiver, going to get the points, with Stephon Diggs getting doubled. Nico Collins, which leads us to our second wide receiver,
Yeah.
where we're going to have to wait until Monday. My brother, tell him who we got.
So we got on Monday's game from the Bengals, Jamar Chase. I mean, you got wide receiver number 1 coming out of Cincinnati Bengals. You got Joe Burrow throwing that ball to him. I mean, the reality of it is not only does the matchup kind of bode well for them, the Washington Commanders are actually 22nd overall in terms of passing yards. So reality of it is Jamar Chase does have the ability to otherwise exploit the defense, really stretch it out. And I think Jamar Chase is going to be able to capitalize. He's the type of players that can otherwise not only make plays, but actually execute and close on them. And I think that's important, right? And I think it's the yards after carry that are very, very important.
For sure.
And I think the reality of it is as well is when you look at the receiving yardage for the Bengals, Gesicki is number 1 as a tight end. For sure. But Jamar Chase is right after by 12 yards. Jamar Chase is there. And this is, of course, from, on average in last week's game. He is by far, when it comes to wide receivers, the leading wide receiver.
And you have Higgins coming back too, so
Yeah.
defense has to focus on him too,
They
which
do.
gives him more opportunity.
Exactly.
He's going to score some touchdowns, secure the bag, because he needs a new contract. Him and Burrow get that connection going. They're that can't go 0-2, get the W, which leads us to our tight end.
Yeah, and I mean, another team that really needs a W right now because they've been kind of underwhelming, I'd say, is Detroit Lions. I mean, they're second in NFC North, so against the Arizona Cardinals, it's going to be a very important interconference match. We have tight end Laporta, and I think Sam Laporta here is going to be another key factor into it. I mean, you have Amon-Ra St. Brown, who, of course, commands the ball. But at the same token, you have a connection in Laporta who had that rapport with Jared Goff last year. Where is that this year? I think, it's yet to be seen, but I think we're going to see it this week against the Cardinals in the afternoon. Similarly with the passing yards, yes, Arizona does have 19th in the league, sure. But I think where things get interesting is in the third down conversions, right? I mean, you do have the offense of a smaller sample size. Sure, you have Arizona being number 1 when it comes to third down conversions, but Detroit is not that far gone. They're 8th. They're 8th in the league. And I think that's going to come down from the notion that Laporta gets involved. So we anticipate, given this matchup, given that they're coming off a loss, the Lions are coming off a loss, that this is going to be an interesting one where Laporta is going to break out finally of his little slump that he's having, which finishes us off of the offensive arsenal,
Yes.
leading us to the defense. Defense wins championships out here.
Yes.
So, Allner, who's our defense for this week?
Defense wins championships. You are correct, because this defense has won championships.
Okay.
Legion of Boom.
That's
We
it.
got the Seattle Seahawks.
12 man.
12 man. They're having the Miami Dolphins come in,
Yeah.
play a game against them. Now we know Miami Dolphins, yes. Oh, where's Tua? Tua's injured. They're not the same team as they were. Skylar Thompson has a really small sample size. He was 8 for 14 last week for 80 yards. Now, he's the type of quarterback that will not be able to throw 60, 70 yards. Tyreek Hill may be too fast for him.
Yeah.
Right? So we feel Seattle's going to come in, pick on this quarterback here. He's still understanding how he's going to play. And Seattle's just going to force a lot of turnovers, cause havoc for Miami. And Miami may have to go back to the drawing board to find a quarterback. But yeah, Seattle fantasy defense got the 12th man, which leads us to our last position, is the kicker. Everyone's favorite position.
Love that. Because it could be such a make or break on your team.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, the reality of it is a lot of fantasy owners have them, and they could go off and score more than your quarterback, or they can underwhelm and completely shank a kick and get like -2 points.
Yeah.
But it's also in those points that you could get over that like win, right?
Exactly.
Which brings us to the individual, which is once again from the Detroit Lions and Arizona game in Matt Prater.
Yes.
Right? I mean, he's played, obviously we've gone through 2 weeks now. In the last 2 weeks, he's been Mr. Consistent, I'd say. He's 2 for 2, hasn't missed a field goal yet, which is great. His longest one actually came last week against the Rams at 57 yards.
Wow.
Okay, 57 yards. So when you look at it from that angle, it goes to show that, not only does he have the leg to kick it from far, which means the team can actually stay in the game,
Exactly.
which effectively changes the momentum of it, but his extra points, bang on. Last week alone against the Rams game, he had, like I said, 2 field goals attempts, nailed both of them. His longest was 57, and he had 5 extra point attempts.
Wow.
And scored all 5. Easy. So he single-handedly would have also been just as important as McPherson when we picked him up last week.
Yeah.
And from that level of confidence, and after making that call last week with McPherson, Matt Prater seems to be the guy.
All right. Well, that sums up our whole fantasy lineup. This fantasy lineup looks nice. I think this will pass the century mark.
Again.
I think so too. 2 weeks in a row.
Yep.
Which looks really, really nice to us too. Which leads us to trending bets, or do we do Survivor?
Let's do Survivor.
All right.
Because we know a lot of Survivor brackets were busted.
Yes.
And, I'm sure, like us, like you, we all felt the impact.
Yeah.
Survivor payouts may have already been paid.
Yes, already.
I know.
It's only week 3.
It's only week 3. So a lot of us have rejoined Survivor leagues because, it's only week 3 football.
Yeah.
So we have rejoined. We are providing our Survivor pick analysis free.
Yes.
Because, of course, we want to make sure we're able to share that bag with you. So same parameters, and we'll continue it, is we won't be using the same team again. And you can only use it once.
Yeah. And this team we have here, I feel a lot of people who are maybe still into Survivor may have not picked this team. And this is a 1:00 game, early game. It's a home team who I feel should get the W. We got Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We got the Buccaneers playing the Denver Broncos. We don't see Tampa Bay losing. For all you Survivors out there, Tampa Bay, from us, from AIM Sports, looks like a lock. And that's what we're going to be locking in.
Yep.
And it just speaks for itself. I think Denver's still trying to find themselves, even with Sean Payton as their coach. They have a rookie quarterback there who still needs a little fixing.
Yeah.
And Tampa Bay defense, who's won a Super Bowl behind Brady as well too, will come in and, play an X Factor, and Tampa Bay should get that W. Which leads us to our trending bets.
Trending bets, obviously, for those who, as we mentioned earlier, secure the bag with us. We got our anytime TD scorer, Garrett Wilson, from our Thursday Night Football.
Yeah.
So This is an interesting trending bet because, Ulner, I know you and I went back and forth on this.
Yes, we did.
Right? We both saw overlap between these two running backs. We saw the isolation here. We tried to figure it out. And, we came to the consensus that we'll give you two. We'll give you two. One we think that is, we think both are going to happen, the reality, right? We think both of them are going to happen, but we know we've always told you guys we're going to give you one. We feel confident enough to say both of them are happening. And so with our first anytime TD scorer is going to be, and we mentioned him, he's one of our running backs, is Alvin Kamara. All right. Now, currently, Alvin Kamara is trending at 1.57 times your unit, which is a solid, I'd say bet for any time.
For sure.
That's something that we're confident in at this point. Like we saying, he's coming off a hot hand, 4 TDs. It's been 2 weeks of football. He's dropped 5 TDs collectively. That's a huge number, right? Is it sustainable? I sure hope so. But, we think that he's going to be able to pick up one and continue that hot hand. The second one that we have as our anytime TD is Jonathan Taylor.
Yes.
Once again, another good pick. And this is something that, we went back and forth on. So I'll pass it to Ulner to kind of give us a rundown as to why Taylor and why we think, he's going to be able to do it for us.
Taylor speaks for himself. He's the only running back that the Colts have. Richardson, he's a leading rusher for them. For them to get a win going down 0-2, Jonathan Taylor has to have a big game. He also goes out and catches the football too. He's versatile. He's like a young McCaffrey who's able to do a lot of things. Yes, he's been injured multiple times, but I feel Jonathan Taylor should find the end zone and get his team a victory and put his team on his back. Now, from aim betting, when we usually give one, we're going to say maybe you should parlay both of them together if you're feeling lucky. At aim betting, we put it together that you parlay both of them together, it'll be 2.88 times your unit. So you could go out there and get a quick double, triple times and just, anytime touchdown score. Feed the hot hand for heat check Kamara.
Yeah.
And Jonathan Taylor, ride him until he gets a win.
Yeah.
And that's it.
That's a pretty good bet, I'd say.
Yeah.
Like we said, Kamara, Taylor, that was a debate between Ulner and I, back and forth. But defense is the offensive, the referees, the officiating, everything tends to line up with what we're saying here. Parlay if you feel comfortable with it. But ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up week 3, episode 2. And this is our 6th episode in the season.
Yes, sir, it is. 6th episode of the season.
Time is blowing by.
Yep.
So let's close it off with a quick recap. I'll start off with the game of the weeks.
Yes.
So, game week number 1, we got Philadelphia Eagles versus New Orleans Saints. Ulner has called Philadelphia plus 2.5. I myself have called New Orleans minus 2.5.
Fly, Eagles, fly.
That's it. Second game of the week, we have Baltimore versus Dallas. Ulner and I both agree that it's Baltimore minus 1.
You mean Lamar Jackson?
I think so. It's the Lamar Jackson show. And brings us to our last game of the week with Jacksonville versus Buffalo. We are both calling Jacksonville plus 5.
Yes, shout out Mr. Smith.
That's it.
Yes. And then which leads us to our fantasy, which we're going to recap as well. We got our quarterback as Mahomes, running back as Ford and Kamara, our wide receiver as Chase and Collins. We got our tight end in Laporta. We got the Seattle defense. And then we got Prater as our kicker. And then after that, we got into our survivor, which is Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And then we got our anytime touchdown scorers, as we said, with Kamara and Taylor.
That's it.
That's it. So from Aim Betting Sports, thank you guys for tuning in. Bet responsibly.
Have fun.
Get your popcorn ready for another wild week of NFL. We can't wait to see how we did. And when you guys come back and tune into us next week to see what we did.
That's it.
Good luck to everybody.
Enjoy football. Enjoy Sunday.
Yes, and we're out.
Peace.